What's up, everybody? Today we have a boring one for you. We're talking about the cost of living in the Finger Lakes. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Anthony. It's my partner Avery, and we are the American Home Team. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell so you're notified every single time we post a new video in all things living in the Finger Lakes. 100%, guys, and we are licensed realtors here in the state of New York. So as much as we love making these videos, we'd love even more to help you with your real estate needs. Go ahead, shoot us a text, shoot us a phone call, an email. There should be a number popping up below, as well as an email address. Feel free to reach out anytime. We'd love to help you make a smooth move to the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. 100%. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the cost of living in Ontario County and Monroe County. The reason why we want to do both of these counties is there's actually 9 counties that New York State considers the Finger Lakes. Monroe County and Ontario County, we think, are 2 of the bigger ones. And a greater representation of the Finger Lakes as a whole. And we just don't want to bore you guys with 9 counties of cost of living, right? Because that's not fun at all. No one really likes to talk about this stuff. You just want to know what you need to know so that you can make an educated decision to move here to the Finger Lakes. So we're only going to do 2 counties, 2 of the major counties in the Finger Lakes. Yep. And starting with Ontario County. Ontario County, New York. Talking about the economy of Ontario County, we're looking at unemployment and then we're looking at jobs, right? So the unemployment in Ontario County is sitting right around 5.8%. Yep. And the US average, just to kind of keep a reference, is 6% there. The job outlook, though, or job growth in Ontario County is positive. It's increasing too. Yeah. So it's been increased by what, 1%? Yeah, 1% over the last 2 years. Yep. Whereas Monroe County, which is a larger metropolitan area than Ontario County. Ontario County is kind of rural, right? It's a suburb of the city. But Rochester in Monroe County has an unemployment rate of 6.8%, which is higher than the national average. However, job growth in the area is up 0.8%. Yeah, still very positive. Yeah. People are still able to get jobs, and unemployment is still sitting relatively low. And the reason for the unemployment, in my opinion, being higher than the national average in Monroe County is because of the recent years with COVID, right? People are still trying to come back from that. And I think that the unemployment rate across the United States is elevated from years past. Absolutely. And another factor that we can put in there too is the city of Rochester, right? Yeah. There's a huge population of people all condensed within Rochester, which is in Monroe County. Mm-hmm. And the cities in particular were hit especially hard by COVID, right? Yeah. So the job losses and stuff were a little bit higher. Moving on, cost of living in Ontario County. The cost of living in Ontario County is 9.2% lower than the US average. That's pretty significant. Yeah, and so for the cost of living, we're talking about your gas, your groceries, right? Things to do. All the things that matter to you. Yep, materials for your home, right? To do some renovations. Things of that nature. Would you say 9.2% lower than the national average? That means that you're going to save a hell of a lot of money when you move here to the Finger Lakes. Absolutely. And moving on to Monroe County, right? Monroe County, the cost of living is 11.4% lower than the national average. Again, keeping in mind, Rochester, the major city, it's in Monroe County, and so that is there. So numbers get kind of diluted, as you have a higher population, more metro area. And in the city, you do have some lower prices. You have some numbers that kind of skew the averages. You're looking at a $20,000 home in the city, right? Versus you go out into the Ontario County, you're probably not going to find a $20,000 home unless it's a mobile home in a park. Yeah. So we do need to be cognizant of that.
The averages can be skewed a little bit because of the metro area and some lower prices. But all in all, it is below the national average in terms of the cost of living in Monroe County.
And we're not just talking real estate there either. We're talking about, if you go to the city, you're going to find a more condensed population of mom and pop stores who maybe they can price their products a little bit cheaper for more people to afford.
Resale stuff too.
Yeah,
resale stuff.
They're taking less margin because they're not a big box store like some of these other places, right? So that's a big reason why cost of living is a lot lower.
That's right. All right, so moving on to the real estate portion of the cost of living. Ontario County, we're looking at a median sales price of $209,000, and that's an increase of 6.1% over the last 10 years in appreciation. Specifically, we're looking in Ontario County, we have Canandaigua Lake, and that's the only lake in Ontario County. But a lot of those home prices will increase the average, number one, but also because it increases the average, it helps increase your equity in your home as well. And so we're looking at appreciation because people want to move here because of the lake.
Yep, absolutely. So moving on to Monroe County, right? We have a median home price of $191,000 just about. And over the course of the past 10 years, appreciation's been pretty stagnant. Yep. It's sitting at actually a minus 0.4%. So rounded to zero, right? There's some up years, there's some down years. The Rochester market has stayed consistent over the past 10 years, and actually probably longer than that. Even in that economic bust of
2008,
the real estate market and everything crashing, the Rochester market's been pretty consistent, sitting around the same price.
Yeah, and that's a good point because in the 2008 financial crisis, a recession, the Rochester and Finger Lakes regions weren't hit nearly as bad as, say, Atlanta, Georgia, or Tampa, or San Francisco, Phoenix.
Some of the major metros.
The major metros, because we're a lot smaller of a market, we weren't hit nearly as bad. In fact, a lot of people, they just kind of held on to what they had, but no one really lost much, right? I say that loosely because I do want to recognize the people that did, but everyone just kind of held on, and we didn't fluctuate really too much at all.
Right. I think businesses in the area, in Monroe County and Ontario County specifically, stayed relatively in business, right? So they held on to their employees for the most part, and I think that really helped out the real estate, I guess, the economy in general.
Yeah. And I think part of that too is because we are a vacation hub. In the Finger Lakes, people are coming here to travel. It is a destination for a lot of people that live in other states. And so a lot of our economy is brought up through that tourism.
Yep.
And, it's kind of like, Sarasota, Florida, or, some of these coastal areas that have so much tourism that even in a recession, they do okay.
Yep.
It's the same exact thing here in the Finger Lakes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to the school section of the cost of living, Ontario County spends on the public school sector about $19,000 per student compared to the national average of a little over $12,000 per student.
Yep. And Monroe County is very similar, right? It's just under $21,000 per student. And again, that national average is just under $13,000 per student. So,
and the reason for that is because we do have higher taxes here in the state of New York as a whole, and a lot of that budget is allocated toward public school systems. So, there is going to be a higher cost per student because we have we have great schools,
yep,
right? But our taxes are higher, so they do allocate a greater portion of those taxes toward those school systems.
Yeah, we've said it in many of our other videos that while we do have higher taxes than a lot of areas throughout the country, we do have some of the top ranked schools within the country, right? So a lot of the locals are okay with paying that higher tax because they know that their kids are getting a top tier education, right? So when we look at student to teacher ratios in the school, because some of these things matter for a lot of different people, is your kid going to get a one-on-one type experience, at school? So we're looking at 13.4 student to teacher ratio. So that means roughly 13 to 14 students per one teacher in the classroom.
And that's in both Ontario and Monroe counties. I know when I was going through school, I wish that I was like homeschooled or had a teacher all to myself, right? Because I'm dyslexic, so I would have learned a lot easier that way. But 13 to 14 students per teacher really isn't that bad when you're talking about some of these other states or some of these other areas that have like 21 per teacher
minimum, right?
Yeah.
And I know specifically for me, the math class that I was in senior year, right? We had two teachers and it sounds funny, but it helps so much because we had about 7 students per one teacher, right? If we had a classroom of 14 people and we had 2 students, that's 7 to 1, right?
2 teachers, yeah.
So it really helped each student, in any area that we needed help. So that's important for a lot of parents as their kids are going through the education system here in New York that, hey, my kid can get that one-on-one help if they need it.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, with that said, this has been the cost of living in the Finger Lakes. Hope you guys learned something from this. If you want us to do any other video, talk to you about any other topics about the Finger Lakes, Rochester region, or surrounding regions in upstate New York, feel free to shoot us a comment and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you're notified every Tuesday and Thursday that we drop a new video.
Absolutely. And like we said in the beginning, as much as we love making these videos, we would love even more to help you with all your real estate needs. So the number that's popping up there on the bottom of your screen again, and that email address, be sure to contact us in one of those methods, phone call, text, email, whatever, and we'd love to connect with you.
All right, guys, see ya.
See ya.